Hey everybody, this is Chad Warren. How you doing? Want to do a movie review. And the movie we'll be discussing today is Stalker. Alright, as soon as I can minimize. Oh, very nice. Alright. So, yes, probably the one right here where he's got the crown of thorns. I presume, is Tarkovsky Russian, I presume? I don't know how you say Satakip. But the movie is Stalker. So I presume this is the original poster. That holds up well. I mean, okay, so what can I infer about the symbolism, the visual symbolism based on watching the movie from this poster? Okay, he's got the crown of thorns, and the character, is known as the writer. And this movie is not really my cup of tea, although this genre of 1970s independent director based films are arguably the best films ever in the history of Hollywood. A Hollywood which appears to be destroyed through this great economic reset of the 13 families that own 98.5% of everything. I think I heard Regal Cinemas, which is the one I prefer here locally. I heard that they closed. And then the No Time to Die James Bond movie has been pushed back a couple times now to April. And there was a discussion about that MGM offered to sell No Time to Die to Netflix for $600 million, which would have really sucked. And to me, things are so bad. I'm very against the established order because they used to make these good movies to represent, like modern Shakespeare. Like, we took Shakespeare, we combined it with the technology of film, and now you get, some of the best movies and the best expressions of humanity. But they just did that so we would get addicted to consuming their product. Then they switched everything over to the internet and computers so that they could censor us. And so even me speaking to you now is, on the front line of you have to have your own website, because if you try to just depend on a YouTube channel or these kind of social medias, if you say something that the communist leaning, nanny state of the United Nations is not going to let you say it. So in terms of a business, it's like tough. On the one hand, it's easier to be a creator, like a writer or filmmaker. People make money off of these kind of videos if they have the audience for it and they service that audience, but it can all be taken away. So that's my view of where popular culture has been taken on purpose. The same people that made America, the Masons, are crashing it. And then the No Time to Die movie is important to me because while I'm very against, how they're ruining it, they're replacing Daniel Craig with this woman, which I I think people would be fine with a woman as James Bond fans, but we're so used to this communist, anti-family, um, religion where they're pushing their values. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch, the Christian church control the media either, even though I'm Christian. So it just doesn't look good. And then, like, James Bond movies are hit or miss anyway. Number one, they're propaganda, and they make it seem like it's cool to be a spy for a government, but it's not, because that's just the 13 families that own 98.5% of everything, that created all these intelligence agencies and created all these nations, for that matter. But at the same time, I think we got to work with what we got. Like, there's a true politics type of thing. So if COVID is causing us to not be able to do anything in person unless we have a mask, or later they're going to force us to be vaccinated, I would prefer that we are able to go see the movie at the cinema, just to hold on to some sense of normalcy, popular culture, where we could all get together and watch a ball game or go see a movie. I don't really watch a lot of television. I watch a lot of YouTube, but I do like to go see movies with my son, and it's rare that there's any of them that are any good, which is why, because of COVID, they've been showing all these older movies, for $5 just to get people to come in the door. So that's my little commentary about. I was saying, what do you think about this idea? What if, we use that interest in that movie, the Bond movie, and say, hey, we want to see it in cinemas, right? So you got movie fans that want to see it in cinemas, but really what I'm pushing for is people like me that know that this COVID thing is a scam. It's just a way for the purpose of, that's my friend Bill. He wants to, he's accepted my offer to do an interview later, but we could use that interest in the movie to get us to fight for showing up and having a social life in person, instead of just through these podcasts and social media. It's a two-way street, isn't it? I mean, if the NBA can push Black Lives Matter, then I can push for the folk using their media. Okay, so hopefully one day we will see movies from this independent media with all these publication tools that will rival these great movies. And my hope is that we do everything cooperatively, right? So that you just take all these people that are interested in whatever the subject is, Stalker the movie, movies in general, and instead of like these Star Wars fans, and they complain, hey, these new movies suck. Like, even these younger people are complaining, hey, you ruined it with all your politically correct commie bullshit. Well, instead of just being these nerds that talk about stuff online, we should say, hey, the people that have ideas, let's create a cooperative business agreement that you can enter into, and you can submit ideas, and if they get used, you get writing credits or whatever credits that that you offer to the production. You can invest money, right? So that you have a reason other than to just see an entertainment product, but you can be a co-producer of not only an artistic product like a business, but like an actual culture, a vision for humanity that you believe in. That seems like where we need to go. All right, enough of the big serious talk. So then, let's see. Then we go back this way. All right, so here's Internet Movie Database, and these are some of the cast of people that I don't know in any other movies. I'm not the most familiar with European cinema, although I would say that I was definitely influenced by it because of watching HBO as a kid. HBO is a lamer version of the original pay-per-view channel in Los Angeles called Channel Z, and there's an excellent documentary by the, what's it called, the Independent Film Channel, IFC, and it's got Quentin Tarantino. Of course, you know, that was his whole shtick, is being influenced by those movies, and just I have a very similar view to him. You know that that those were the best movies, and the whole basic theme that we're in the world is, I call it Back to the Future. Steve Bannon and Alexander Dugan, they call it traditionalism. You can read about that in Professor Benjamin Teitelbaum's book War for Eternity. Okay, so that those two guys, Alexander Dugan and Steve Bannon, they believe in ages, a cycle of ages that go in a circle, not a progressive line forward. So they are trying to crash this age, which is the Iron Age, so that this Golden Age can come. But in general, you could just say that the old ways are best, and you know, so again, a positive use of combining the new with the old would be this cinema of the 70s that really you know, matured Hollywood, right? And then right after this, you had the beginning of the end, which was the summer blockbusters of Star Wars and all that. So Star Wars took this phenomenon of these director-based movies, and it made that popular, and it made a lot of money, which is good too. But that has directed us towards this death of popular culture that we have today. Ooh, okay. We'll look at this user review here in a second, but we'll go ahead and look at the trailer for the movie, if I can find it and get it to play. Yeah. Hold on. I don't want to play it off the internet. I gotta figure out how. No. Sorry, I should have had it on the screen first. Okay. This way it won't interrupt when I play it. Ingmar Bergman. I'm going to see that movie that's famous where he's got Max von Sydow as this Teutonic knight talking with death. I'll review that one next.
Зона — это очень сложная система ловушек, что ли. Но стоит тут появиться людям, как все здесь приходит в движение. Здесь исполнится ваше самое заветное желание. Самое выстраданное.
Oh, that's cool. Will that stay up there? Let's leave that up there. All right, so let's see if I can make this bigger here. No, it won't. Sorry for the flipping around. Okay, so yeah, it was fun watching that trailer again because um this viewing experience in this movie is bittersweet for me because this movie is lauded as like one of the best poetic philosophical masterpieces, as we saw, and that's so up my alley, you know what I mean. um but I end up putting this movie in the same box that I put Eraserhead into, so that it's experimental. It's um this movie is poetic, right? And so that means that it's also like a a fairy tale, you know, kind of like where you just represent these concepts. Like this movie's about creating and about hope for humanity, right? So and that's kind of a Russian style to keep it simple. I mean, really, there's, I guess that's just a folk tradition that's worldwide, really. But and then for me, the problem is when you watch the movie, I just don't enjoy the experience. Ultimately, it feels boring and it feels like empty, you know, and like life feels that way sometimes anyway. Why would I want to watch a movie that like heightens that experience? I don't know. And that brings up the question of I'm, you know, all about being truth and pushing hard to be true, which is almost always uncomfortable, but you know, I like it to be more functional and fun as well. So the positives about this movie are the sepia tone, that brown look of it. So that's neat. So it's like you're looking at an antique picture, but as a movie. And of course, there's a lot of good cinematography, so that it uses that Stanley Kubrick style where you're using classic framing and still photography, essentially. Even though it's a movie, the camera is very patient, so that it has a natural feel, and it's like you're utilizing the way nature gives us the experience of life, which is silent and still. So that is cool, but a lot of times it's like too dark, you know, to see clearly what's going on. There's some scenes at the end where you see this like fish in water with something that looks like blood, and I couldn't. It's just too obscure for me to understand, see visually, and to understand. That's kind of my thing. So you have this guy whose job is a stalker, and the story is that a meteorite hit in Russia, and the rumor is that if you go to this area, that your whatever your desire can come true. So it's like that simple fairy tale story, you know, and those, you know, that thing can be done really well, to where it has a profound consciousness raising effect. I think maybe the Truman Show maybe would work like that. You know, it's like life could be a dream is kind of the theme of that, and that's a lot more worthwhile to me because a general audience can watch it. Maybe that's a difference between America and Europe in that regard. Let's see. So, and again, I understand all the angst that you're feeling of like the characters are frustrated. This stalker is taking these men, the two of them. One of them, they give them like code names, so that if somebody hears them, nobody will know the exact name of the person. They're hiding from the authorities. The authorities won't let people go in there. This guy's job is taking people to this genie, essentially, to their heart's desire. And then that's a question. What do they mean by stalker? Like, who's stalking whom? The stalker is asked. He's challenged by the writer towards the end when they're at the threshold of being able to know, to have their heart's desire. And I won't spoil the ending for you, but he says, maybe it's not benevolent that you're bringing people here. And I really can't remember what his argumentation was about why. But I know that the stalker says that is his job. He doesn't want to have his desire fulfilled in any other way than to bring other people to their heart's desire. So I guess that is like the filmmaker speaking. And then that does really hit home, because when I think all the time, I always wanted to make movies, but when I thought about it, I wanted to change reality, and here's the way I would compare it. Every child that saw Star Wars, was heavily influenced by it and tried to move rocks with the Force. So, yeah, I get that it definitely subconsciously was promoting this Freemasonic view of unifying the opposites versus continuing to fight good versus evil. That it's really more about the balance of these opposing forces in oneself through maturing in enlightenment, wisdom, philosophy, versus, as a Christian, to have Jesus and God take care of all this stuff if we have faith in them. Yeah, so I think that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm simple-minded. Obviously, those people know best that create these movies, and they're just reusing these tried and true themes. I understand the idea that they're subconsciously inserting these things so it has more of an effect, but I'm more interested in overtly, getting people to explore these ideas and be aware that that's what they're doing. So I can respect that maybe the filmmaker is the stalker, and he hopes that he would help people want to become artists. That being an artist should just be a part of what it means to be human, like we consider it necessary to read and write. And that brings you to a whole interesting topic. Why do we need to know how to read and write, but we don't need to know how to grow our own food? So that's why we shouldn't depend on the television to guide us. Although, these tools are great, and that's what alternative media is to counter that elite consumer slavery narrative. And then these movies of the 70s, United Artists was the first source of alternative cinema, and it was made up of originally by people like Charlie Chaplin and the first stars that pooled their money together to compete with the studio system. So that's what we would hope for. Like, it's supposed to be what the American story was compared to England. And I don't know, it just boggles my mind about how the same Masons that made America are the same ones that are doing all this global warming, Black Lives Matter, all this stuff. But I guess they're doing it to force us to grow up and to become a world uh, revolution of a true republic. The new republic. That's what they call it in Star Wars. So here I am, and here you are. So I would say that the movie is good in that sense that it does make one contemplate these things if you do a video or write about it or think about it afterwards. So that is good. Maybe that's what's more important than the initial experience. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. So I will check out whatever that Ingmar Bergman movie is with Max von Sydow, where he's playing chess with death. And why don't you share with me if you like or don't like this review? I'm still trying to find the blend between me being myself and I need to definitely improve the production quality so it's entertaining to watch. I get all that. But really, I'm also trying to be focused more on other people that want to be collaborative creators, not just in terms of art, but in terms of running the world. We should just be using these tech systems to replace representative government, for example. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of behind the scenes type of deal, and then yeah. Here there is one other thing I did want to show you. Let's see if I can find it. If it's, I don't think it's on here. Well, this is this guy's review. Let's look at this. Let's see how somebody else thinks about all this. All right. So this is on IMDb. The reviewer's name is Invergulson, so I'll try to contact that person. That's part of what I call neo-folkcraft, is valuing yourself, as opposed to Hollywood and that whole thing of like, you're nobody. These people are the deal. You wish you were them, but your life can never measure up. I don't like that vibe. And I don't like the whole social media. I'm on Instagram. Look at me, digital nomad, traveling the world, and you know what I mean. Like, if it inspires you to move forward, that's cool. But if it makes you feel like, oh, my life sucks, that's not, not good. But I'll try to contact this person. Meaning, like, I do think that we can have a real effect on each other through the internet medium, and I just want to have it more real world outcomes. So I'll try to let this person know that I read their review. Great masterpiece from the greatest director, 10 out of 10. I want to say something about the most poetic, philosophical, and intuitive director, Tarkovsky, in his movies, especially Stalker. First of all, we must all know that Tarkovsky is not for all. That's why I'm sharing this, because I'm like, okay, he knows what I'm talking about. That's my cat Bigsby out there. Sorry about that. His poetic understanding of life and humanity, and putting this understanding to his movies, is unique in the world, in my opinion. One of the most poetic and philosophical movies he has is Stalker. It is a poem written with objects. We must feel before we try to understand. I totally appreciate that. I just don't want a movie to be so experimental that I don't get it. Opening sequence, another like a rap is something that is good about being able to convey strong, unique imagery through poetry, but it's more visceral. It's more like something commonly traded as opposed to super arty. I mean, 2001 is super arty, but I like that. I like Stanley Kubrick. I don't know how to explain why, this isn't for everybody. The opening sequence of the film contains some kind of expressionist objects which relate the moral and inner conditions of the people living in the town. I think the opening sequence is what you saw in the trailer there, where he's in the bed and he wakes up and his wife is angry at him because he was sent to prison for escorting people to this zone. He has a child that has no legs and doesn't speak, and that is because he's gone to the zone, and then I don't understand what that means. What the zone is the creative zone. It's the process of individuation. I think you'd call it in psychology when Star Wars. Luke is in Dagobah with Yoda, and he fights against Darth Vader, and he strikes Darth Vader in the face, and it's revealed that Luke is underneath that helmet. So it's about integrating what we think are our opposites. The dirty black and white take gives the viewers the mood of people having nothing to live. Yes, that part of it I did like, about that feeling of life, of like, what is the point of this? Nothing to believe in this atheistic world we live in today, and nothing to give others. What do we have to give? That's the question with all this alt media. Are we going to watch a bunch of mediocre content? You know what I mean? Or is this process going to increase the general human stock, our behavior? And the aggressive green take, it's an interesting language, in the zone gives another vision of life. So that's natural. It's like a Garden of Eden. The camera moves very slow to make us go into the film and feel the film. Yep. And I'm just saying there's just too much of that. But I do appreciate the whole natural thing. Tarkovsky's usage of objects and colors is very different, and that is why I think he was a cinema poet. On the other hand, in addition to this poem written with objects, the film also has very deep philosophical content, for sure. What is life? What is human? What is goodness? And what is selfishness? What is devotion? What is the basis of our civilization, etc.? It seems pretty obvious that the military is threatened by individual point of view, period, let alone what you create out of that. That's why they won't let people go to the zone. What is devotion? And people are made to think all these things, not mostly with dialogue, but with objects and colors and the cinematography. For example, the three objects shown while the camera goes into the water. Yeah, I couldn't get that. It was a fish, some kind of a blood, and like a drain. It was a shallow sink on the ground. But actually the heart of the human being, and we see one cringe. One gun and one religious icon. Okay, the writer is fearful, I think, the most. The gun comes from the professor, and let's see, the religious icon is the guy with the crown of thorns. That's the writer. The stalker Well, he's fearful. Okay, let me think about that. He says you can't take a straight line to creativity, or you will die. I don't know. Other than what does that mean? That there has to be a struggle to produce something of value. Um, hmm. Of course, people get on drugs and all that, getting obsessed with all of this philosophy. There's Carl Jung and type of people going crazy, trying to explore, trying themselves to grow up to be who we are and to do what we need to do, versus wear COVID masks. All right, let's see what else he says here. The met the metaphors of the human civilizations, in his opinion, and all the journey into the zone and finally the room, are actually done inside the human being, into our selfishness, into our subconscious, our badness, our goodness, our weak and strong parts. Actually, I can feel that. The things searched in this movie are our lost innocence. Yes. The stalker is the only person who believes something and needs to believe. And actually, the journey itself is fake. To go to the truth, faith, justice, goodness, these virtues are being related with innocence in that movie. The microcosms shown poetically in the water is another metaphor that shows human beings' selfish behavior, because humanity destroys the things, destroys the innocence, destroys the world living around them through war and through, we could destroy our species. I don't think we can destroy the world. Like, I don't know. Our today's civilization is broken. Our strong cooperation with nature has changed this relationship to a natural disaster. I agree with all that. The movie gives the message of the need of mercy to all the living and even non-living things in nature, because human beings' salvation. Yeah, this is important. Let me just say this: all these Trump supporters and the people, like, I used to do massage therapy, so people that are artistic or they're caregivers, they're connected to their heart. We need to fight against this Green New Deal, against global warming, and for stewardship. See, Christians, that's part of their language, right? They're supposed to be stewards of the land for God. And they talk about nature's God. So personally, like when I pray, I say, thank you, Father God and Mother Nature. I mean, that's the way I resolve this conflict between paganism or Lucifer and God. And in the Bible, it says Jesus and Lucifer are both called the morning star. And I was watching Robert Seffer, who is a cultural anthropologist, and he's great about explaining these concepts in an entertaining way. That's a personal journey. You can't just take my struggle, my understanding, and my acceptance of a lot of the positive aspects. I fought against all this Illuminati, occult, control of Hollywood. There's all that going on, but that's just one side. I think there's a good side too beyond that stuff. The need for hope and the need to believe is human beings' basic needs. Yeah, our whole sense of being human is squashed by this technology, the technocrats, you know, the people that censor on social media, that give us poison and fast food, the Uber, you know, like we can't have our own rideshare company, we can't have our own apps, we gotta just Amazon, you know what I mean? Our modern world. So why isn't there more unity? I don't understand that, between left and right and the independent folk to go, hey, you know, like, we should admit that we go to Walmart, we go to Amazon, we use Uber, but we would rather, you know, use these apps in a way that's more cooperative, where, you know, it's not all of our life force and economic value being sucked off to these 13 families. Okay, so that's again, what's this person? Inver Gulson. So you can look up Inver Gulson on IMDb and say I sent you. Try to build community one person at a time. And then, let's see, is that it? That is that. There's one other thing. Oh, where's my... Oh, it's not there. We'll go look here. This. I want you to join me at Taste Dive. Okay, so one of the main things I'm trying to do is have us not just talk about this stuff, but do something about it. So the littlest little effort that I'm asking for you, and you can ask me for things you want me to do for you, the reciprocity. But if you like movies, you want to talk about movies, and look at this. You can get rid, if you know, like, I hate how YouTube has been destroyed on purpose. How it used to be, you could just, it would, the algorithms would show you relative content, and you could just watch it like TV. But if you're a truther, no, you can't do that. We've destroyed that for you, which is good, because it forces me to go out here and figure out a new way to do that. But I just like this site. I like to promote things that, you know, we should be doing more. Have you ever heard of this site? I've never heard of it. But they will give you recommendations based on what you like, and it's not through some algorithm. It's through voting by the members. And for music or movies, TV shows, books, authors, games, podcasts. So that's very cool. Here's an example. I've got 424 taste points, which means that I've liked that many things or voted on them. These are things I want to check out. Bookmarks. You've got music. This is, I guess, what I have voted for in music that I like. You can vote you like it, you don't like it, or meh, either way, or you can bookmark it. Okay, here's the movies to give you an idea. Let's see if that'll, I guess it'll show more. So these are movies I like. Star Wars, Amelie. Let me move this over here. Network, Black Hole, 12 Monkeys, The Thing, El Topo, Taxi Driver, LA Confidential, Tombstone, The Holy Mountain, Wall-E, Das Boot, The Boat, The Outlaw Josie Wells, The Count of Monte Cristo, Catch Me If You Can, The Untouchable. So if you like that kind of movies, join me at tastedive.com/Chad Warren. And that's it. Thank you very much. And share with me what you got going on.